Merci d'être si nombreux pour le dernier événement de cette deuxième journée. Vous avez de la chance, là encore, d'être avec nous aujourd'hui, parce que moi, je sais à peu près ce qui va se passer ici, et je peux vous dire qu'on n'a jamais vu ça. Des choses un peu bizarres à manger, des concepts totalement barrés, pour un restaurant absolument incroyable. On est très heureux d'accueillir Rasmus Munk de The Alchemist à Copenhagen. Come, guys. Hello, Rasmus.
Hello.
Hello, Rasmus. Hello, Mike. How are you, Rasmus?
I'm good, thank you.
On va le faire en anglais, vous avez compris. Rasmus est danois et ce sera beaucoup plus simple pour tout le monde. Je prendrai parfois quelques temps pour traduire. I just say I will translate a little bit, but not everything. Rasmus, you just landing from your plane 2 hours ago.
Yeah, it was a little bit delayed. Had a long service yesterday, so good to be here, back in Paris, and yeah, thank you for the warm welcome.
We're really proud and honored, you know, to have in this main stage of Omnivore with the restaurant Alchemist. The world Alchemist, you know, is like a dream for a lot of people, but so few people have already experienced your restaurant. You know, could you explain for the people and for the audience, what is Alchemist?
Yeah, I think we divided a little bit in two, so we will do a little bit of cooking after, just to get you a little bit into what Alchemist is, because for us, Alchemist is what we call holistic cuisine, so it's looking at the whole part instead, on the whole picture instead of just parts of it. So that means that, of course, the cooking is the essential part of Alchemist and the restaurant, but it's also beyond that. So it's about make food as a communication tool about things that's happening in our society and on a naive thought, maybe change the world through gastronomy. So it's about,
Juste pour vous donner quelques mots-clés, hein, le mot holistique que vous avez entendu, qui est vraiment le mot qui permet de comprendre le concept de The Alchemist, qui permet de comprendre qu'au-delà de la cuisine, qui est évidemment au centre de la proposition de Alchemist, ça va bien au-delà, à la fois dans les messages qui sont véhiculés et aussi dans l'expérience qui fait vibrer tous les sens.
Yeah, so it's all from the cutlery on the table, to the napkins, to the temperature of that, to the humidity in the room, but also to the working environment of the chefs. And it needs to be the very closed circle. So I brought some pictures here from the restaurant, so you can see the restaurant in a full scale. To make this immersive experience, we also needed a big restaurant to do that. So it's an old warehouse located in Copenhagen, where we have different rooms that the guest is transported into. A mix of installation rooms, kitchens, a laboratory, and of course the huge main dining room, which is kind of look like a planetarium in some ways.
How long to dine to The Alchemist? You know, how long it takes?
Yeah, average to take around 4 to 5 hours.
So this is more than just to eat.
The longest one was around 9.5 hours. The fastest one was around 2 hours, so it depends on the mood of the guest as well. So it's those to set the pace for the dinner.
We will have some pictures, you know, to show exactly the inside. Peut-être on peut.
Yeah.
Of course. Say a word about that.
So yeah, to make this immersive dining experience, we also need to have, of course, a huge team. The team here is actually, this is nearly a year-old picture, so it increased already. So right now we are 97 in total.
97?
97, yeah. So it's all from actors, dancers, musicians, VFX artists, graphic designers, a wine list, chefs and waiters, of course, a carpenter. So it's like there's 32 different nationalities in the team, but the diversity of the skills is also quite huge.
And do you accept the term of art or cuisine?
Right now we call it holistic cuisine, but we are also on a part of discovering what this could be. I can see right now we have been operating for around a year because of the COVID lockdown, stuff like that. But I can see we attract a lot of different guests that's maybe never been to a fine dining restaurant before. Maybe it's the first time they ate an oyster or get a serving with real caviar. But they came in because they saw something something that was more like an experience. And it can be sensitive as a chef to stand like later in the evening and they said like the food was great, but this was amazing. But it's also like I'm quite positive about it because I think it shows that we are on another part that's maybe more than a cuisine or a restaurant in the end of the day.
Rasmus, you're Danish.
Yeah.
Your restaurant is in Copenhagen, and Copenhagen is now one of the center of the world of gastronomic scene. Why the Alchemist can be only in Copenhagen or not?
I think Alchemist could be located all around the world.
Okay.
And it's of course we use the local products that's around us, but we also have a perspective that's maybe more holistic in the way that we look at the whole world and also the problem that is in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
So like just to show one of the installation rooms we have right now is
Is a violin eatable?
It's a violinist playing an act that's called Lulu. It's curated together with the symphony orchestra in Copenhagen Phil. And it was, for me, was the time when we was locked down and have that time of silence and reflection. So it was inspired by that. So you come in as a guest in a completely dark room. You are asked to follow a light, and suddenly it's completely dark. And it light up on the violinist, and she's playing this Swedish folk song for you. And then you enter the restaurant after.
Wonderful.
So one of the things that I think is so important as well to highlight about Alchemist is that it's really a lot about beyond the plate. So one of the things I think is most interesting part of the Alchemist experience is the research center, or like the research department, which right now include 10 employees, most of them food scientists, PhD students. We just finished our 17th scientific paper last week, which is not normal as a restaurant to do. And we do different projects. One of the projects we do right now is learning material.
What we can find in the different jars?
Sorry?
What we can find, in all the jars?
It's different experiments, things that we have been, like when we have researching new ingredients, new techniques, things from my travels around the world that we gathered in this taste wall, as we call it.
The taste wall.
And actually right now we're working on a directly translated called Food Magic, education material for kids that need to get kids more eager in nature science and cooking. And one of the walls there is a learning map for that, so you can go in and see all of the things and read about the food behind it. Another project we do in the research center right now is to be gastronomic partner on the new kids hospital in Copenhagen. So, so for kids from age 0 to 18, on to rediscover how can hospital food be, and have that as an immersive experience as well on the hospital. So that's another project, and we do the last projects I want to highlight is. Projects with our PhD student Maggie Coplands, which is studying on MIT but work at Alchemist and do her PhD about space food. And we have a collaboration with SpaceX and NASA Food Lab, where we right now, together with Danish Technology Institute, send up an incubator to ferment some mesos in space, and it comes down next year. Then we need to take some samples and test on that. So it's very diverse in form of local, like education material for kids, and to space food in that way.
The food of the future. Maybe we can see another one.
And then, of course, there's the dome itself, which is the main restaurant. And 10 projectors is projecting this image up, and it's different content through the night, through the things you eat. And most of the content is with a statement. This one is about plastic in the ocean, which we're also going to show you the plastic fantastic dish in a second. Another one is about organ donation. This is a huge heart and a lung that's beating meanwhile you're eating. And actually you can find 8 flowers in the middle of the lungs. They're showcasing that your potential could save 8 lives if you decide not to be organ donor. And then we have a space content in collaboration with NASA as well, regarding space junk and the problem that is outside the world already, and we have not even been out there. So that's a little bit weird. And then to the...
I have a question before.
If you have a question.
Yeah, Rasmus, on a compris, we understood that the restaurant is more than restaurant. Is when the world experience is said, sometimes it's a little bit, like a gadget, but yours definitely is a global experience, holistic experience. How do you want to succeed the challenge to bring your restaurant here on this stage at Omnivore in Paris? Because we are not, in the dome. We have not the musicians and the actors. We have 3 of yours, of the almost 100 person. Tell me more, how do you want to bring it here?
Yeah, that's right. That's what is the problem with Alchemist. It's not like just bringing a plate of food, and that's also why I think it's important to see the context behind the restaurant and the feelings about it. We will try to do our best to showcase it on some of the original plates that we do in the restaurant.
Maybe we can do it.
We will move it, the first one in the front here, and I will talk
Rasmus, are you okay for going to, to the other side now, please? On va parler cuisine.
So the first dish we wanted to present here is our dish that's been on the menu for quite a while, actually from the start. It was a report from Danish Technology Institute that told us that 29% of Danish cod was filled with microplast inside. So it was quite surprising for us that there was so much of the codfish actually. And we wanted to highlight that in some way for the diners.
Vous avez compris juste que donc évidemment le plastique est fantastique. Le rapport que ces cabillaud, cod en danois, ont aujourd'hui, effectivement, on va trouver des traces de plastique à l'intérieur de ces poissons. C'est la source d'inspiration qui l'a amené à travailler autour de ce plat.
Yeah, so the one here, what we're doing is we're taking the cod jaw. So a lot of people know the cod cheeks from the cod, but this one is the cod jaw bone itself. There's still the teeth on here. Okay. We cut it out of the cod head, of course, and then we actually vacuum it and sous vide it for 2 hours with 50 degrees. And after that, we peel it off, so it's completely clean, and we grill it on a Hosper grill after. So there's a lot of collagen, a lot of fat inside the meat here, which is amazing. We have it here, where it's a clean version of the cod bone.
Donc vous avez compris la mâchoire du cabillaud qui va être cuit sous vide et ensuite recuit pour avoir cet aspect au final.
This is the bone, yeah. And then we make this. I wanted the diners to feel like they were eating the plastic, that the plastic came back to them after putting it in the ocean. So we wanted to make this edible plast. And there's the types of plast here, which Mike is right now spreading out, which is a jellified cod broth, or like a cod stock that's made of the cod heads. And the one is dried with a little bit lower degrees than the other one. The other one is a little bit more caramelized in the flavor. So there's 2 different textures of the plastic. But it's made of the heads and a lot of cod ice, so there's a lot of collagen into it. We reduce it, we spread it out, and then we dehydrate that.
Comme un écho presque de la précédente masterclass où Pia Léon travaillait avec la pomme de terre, une texture qui se rapproche, et là c'est vraiment le collagène du poisson qui va transformer, qui va prendre cet aspect de plastique. Il y a 2 différentes cuissons de cette plaque de collagène, l'un un petit peu plus caramélisé. Rasmus, for the last 2 days, I ate a lot of things here on the stage, and I'm really curious to eat yours too.
Fantastic.
Can I?
Yeah, for sure. So on top of the cod jaw bone, we just put a little bit of pickled dill stems, so you can see here, which is cod dill stems, and then we pickle them. And then we put a jellified dill broth on, or like a pickling of dill. So the liquid from the pickled dill stems, we jellify and make it onto it.
Donc c'est des fleurs d'aneth, c'est ça, qui vont faire un gel, et ces tiges d'aneth qui vont être en pickles et qui vont donner. Just to understand well, this is the white part.
And then the white part here is this one, which is emulsified bone marrow cream. So the bone marrow cream here, we put on top of it, and then we just blow torch it so it's melt over. So the aesthetic of it gets this completely white one, but you also get this fatty bone marrow to the very fatty cut.
When you say bone marrow, this is from the fish?
No, so this one is from cow.
Okay. Alors le plastique, sans aucun doute. La texture est vraiment celle qu'on pourrait imaginer. C'est extrêmement léger. Il y a une petite, notamment dans la version un tout petit peu plus colorée, on a le goût évidemment le goût du cabillaud qui arrive comme une petite.
And then we got a local artist to make a little plastic plate for us, which is the plast from the west coast in Denmark. There's around in the beaches. He collected that, and then he was putting in a little bit of resin. And then we just put the jawbone here on top of that with the plastic. So the diners get the plates in with the jawbone here, and then you need to like remove the meat and the plastic away from the bone itself.
S'il vous plaît. Le plastique, c'est fantastique. Je ne ferai aucune blague pour les plus de 40 ans qui ont connu malheureusement cette chanson.
So,
let's have another one. When you said holistic cuisine, can I say it's a little bit punk cuisine too?
punk cuisine, yeah.
Is it okay for you?
It's okay for me. So the next impression that we, as we call it in the restaurant, we call it impressions. But there's 50 impressions in the restaurant, 40, 30, 50, yeah.
50, hein, vous avez entendu, séquence au restaurant The Alchemist.
Around 35 to 40 of them is edible. The other one can be aromas, music, content in the ceiling, and so on.
Donc il y en a une quarantaine qui sont comestibles et le reste peuvent être aussi simplement des arômes ou des expériences.
In the restaurant, we have our own like alchemist studio, which consists of like graphic designers, VFX artists, sound engineers, arts and craft people that can make silicone molds, 3D print, laser cut, and all of these things. We have it all in-house, so it's possible for us really to progress that and use the technology into a cuisine. The next dish is our Andy Warhol interpretation here, which is inspired by Andy Warhol's cover album to the Velvet Underground and Nico. So we're making this banana shape here, which is, as you can see here, is a little bit fragile, a banana skin.
Donc vous avez tous reconnu évidemment la banane d'Andy Warhol qu'on va trouver sur la couverture de l'album de Velvet Underground and Nico.
The banana skin is made of the juice from the peels of green bananas, and then milk protein. And then we are making two purees. The first one, the yellow one, is the banana puree itself. The black one is a fermented banana juice, so it gets oxidized and get this black color. And then we laser cut a stencil of the banana, which we put on a sill mat, and then brush out the black part, dry it out. Then we dry the black part out, and then after that we take a whole sheet with the yellow puree, and then we make a cold caramelization of the banana for 1 day with low degrees. And after that we put it in a laser cutter and cut the banana here, so you get the shape of the banana. After the shape of the banana, we are molding the banana skin itself in this 3D printed form, which Mike is doing right now. So after the caramelization in the oven, it's possible to just heat it up slowly and then form it in this mold. So take it out, and then it become this crispy shell. And then fill the shell up with Mike will show here.
And Rasmus, I'm sorry to ask that, but it won't be easier to use a real banana now?
There's real banana in it. And of course it will be easier.
But not too fun.
So just so maybe you can see the texture of the skin when it's made the cold caramelization. So it's quite
it looks like plastic
possible to do. Exactly, yeah. So we're right now working a lot with this technique because it's quite easy to give different kind of shapes. And what we do right now is we're working with the new technique of vacuum form. And instead of using plastic to make molds, we use edible skins to make tartlets, crustaceans, all kind of forms that we want to showcase.
I'm sorry je sais que vous allez dire, il mange tout le temps, mais je dois être votre palais à tous. Can I try one, Rasmus? Just the
For
skin,
sure, yeah.
please.
You can try the whole dessert.
Is it
as
okay
well.
to say it's a dessert, or this not
It's a dessert.
not a good concept to say dessert at Alchemist?
A sweet impression.
Vous entendez, hein, déjà, c'est d'une très grande croustillance. Eh ben, c'est de la banane, il n'y a pas de doute.
Oh, yeah.
Mais la banane qui rappelle ce goût de banane flambée quand on va la faire cuire légèrement caramélisée naturellement avant de lui rajouter du beurre, du sel, ça va aller, du sucre et du rhum.
Fill
Bien
the
sûr.
banana up with an ice cream of the green bananas, and then we have a caramelized egg yolk cream. It's caramelized with 32 degrees, so it gets very stretchy, the caramel, because it's the egg yolk, the caramelized. And then on top of this, there's the sweet rum gel, a little bit of tonka beans puree as well.
All right.
A lot of puree, a gel of that. And then we put it on, so to the ones that have seen the Velvet Underground cover, the banana is on the same way and direction, and then is the next impression for, I want to show you here.
On aurait pu la faire ce matin, ça aurait fait Sunday morning, hein, pour ceux qui sont familiers de cet album, mais ce sera Sunday afternoon. Référence, hein?
Er du klar til at vise det? Er du klar? Eller?
Another one. Another one now.
Another one.
And
Yeah.
a funky one.
So the next one here is actually this. They have taken also a journey through the life of Alchemist. It's the tongue kiss. Some days before we opened the restaurant, I don't know if.
Est-ce qu'on peut remettre les photos? Je crois, je sais pas si on les voit. Il y a une image que Rasmus aimerait bien voir et nous aussi en gros, puisque ça va être assez parlant, même si elle est sur la scène.
Exactly.
La voilà.
So I think it was some months before we opened. One of my good friends called me and said, unfortunately, he had got tongue cancer, and
Tongue cancer.
Tongue cancer. Yeah. So of course, I talked with him about that, and it inspired me a little bit to do something with the tongue, but without saying tongue cancer in the middle of the meal. So it will ruin the experience. So we casted this silicone tongue over a real human tongue. I can't say who the model is. He's called Andras, but beside of that,
Est-ce qu'on la voit bien?
a big one here.
Could you just put it on the...
Play this here.
Yeah.
So the tongue here is right now a part of 2 scientific papers as well on making a dish on the tongue. Because we started actually to do a classic flavor dish, but every time we served it, people was so provoked, and also was like, oh, it doesn't taste good, and I tried to taste the mise en place, like, yeah, it tastes good, and we did a scientific paper on it and got that answers back that exactly the same dish with exactly the same ingredients, with the same amount of flowers, pickling, all of these things served on a white plate versus on the tongue. Where the white plate, people were saying this is amazing, it tastes good, it's nice, and they guessed the average 3 ingredients on the plate. When we did it on the tongue, there was this is the baddest thing I ever tasted. Some of them said it tastes good, but most of them was it was really not very good, not pleasant to eat, and but most of the guests, which I think was amazing in this analysis, was that there was average guest around 13 ingredients on the plate, on the tongue. So exactly the same dish you thought there was 3 ingredients on the white plate and 13 on the tongue. So for us, that made the conclusion that we're living in a world where we just accept what the norm is and what the real day is. And it's first when you really shock people with something that is maybe over the boundaries that you have your feelings outside your body and really discovering things. So imagine if you could discovering the whole world, like going on stage today, talking with you, if you could discover that as a new thing and you didn't put the autopilot on. That could be amazing to do with all single dishes. It would probably also be a challenging night for your mind. But that's what the dishes actually ended up being on Alchemist. Is a dish where maybe you don't really like the things on it because the mind is
not
kind
ready.
of fucked on this. Yeah. So
Rasmus, could you confess?
Yeah.
Is it yours?
Yeah, I can say it. I can say it.
This is disgusting.
It was the way to get my investment to the restaurant. The investor wanted to kiss every single guest every night. So no, we can't say who it is. It's still a secret. And then on the tongue here, we're working on with two ideas. Like we wanted to, when you get it in the tongue, to take the back part, to make the kind of sweet and acidity to it. So you feel it's a little bit weird and awkward, but in the same time you feel it tastes good because sweet acidity is something you like. And then on top part is more like a kind of a classic. We changed it through the season. Right now what we're doing at the restaurant is this kind of classic gazpacho made of the first rhubarbs from Denmark, green strawberries, some of the pickling from the summer to spring and from last winter.
So the recipe of the tongue can change every time?
It changed, yeah. It's actually going to change next week to a lamb tongue instead. A powder of lamb tongue on top of the tongue itself.
Okay.
Because the season for the flowers and stuff like that is nearly over now. So we serve it like this in front of the guest, and then the way to eat the dish is to kiss with it. So you are more than welcome if you want to try.
What do you recommend? This one?
It will not be the best experience.
So if I eat this one, could you make another one?
We will make another one then. Yeah,
Just for the picture.
We call it French kiss. So enjoy. Yeah. Kan vi lave en tunge mere? Kan vi lave en tunge mere? Jeg vil gerne spise den der. Ja. Sorry. Har du nogle blomster til mig? Tastes amazing, huh?
I have to put it in my throat.
Yeah. All the way. Yeah.
Thank you, Rasmus. C'est absolument délicieux. On est sur quelque chose en plus d'assez acide. Honnêtement, je ne comparerais pas ça à une langue humaine complètement. Il manque de la tournée pour se faire rouler une grosse pelle, mais honnêtement... Ah putain, ils m'en auront fait de voir de toutes les couleurs.
Hvor er blomsterne henne? It was good.
Thank you. My wife is inside here. You know, it's not fair.
It's amazing what you can get money from people in big cities and just call it gastronomy.
You're right.
So the next thing is actually a thing that I've been working on for nearly 5 years. When I started the first Alchemist, which was a little bit smaller restaurant.
Yeah, maybe you can say a word because Alchemist exists before this version.
Yeah, I started it in August 2015. I was quite tired of being a head chef on a restaurant where it was the same tasting menu, same snacks, same petit fours, just another location, and you were reaching out from the start. And in a way, I just was a big echo of some very great chefs that did some very unique and original. And I was tired of that and didn't know what to do. And 2 months after, I came up with the idea: if you could make a restaurant that could change the world through gastronomy, so you could combine something that actually made sense, and then with what I love with gastronomy, to use laser cutters to explore the more innovation part of that, and work together with very talented people every day. And then I lent some money, opened it on Aarhusgade, which is a little street in Copenhagen. It was 15 counter seats restaurant. Same kind of philosophy, but without having the knowledge of like what we were actually doing, because it was very a start, and I needed to find myself. But we did some dishes there. They succeed. We did an organ donation dish that was on BBC worldwide. We signed up over 1,500 donors on a small restaurant, and that was actually one of the dishes that told me if a restaurant if a restaurant in Copenhagen with an unknown chef, 15 seats, can do this at different food, then I think it could be quite amazing to explore how far can we go. So back in that day, I was in a newspaper in Denmark showing a box of ants and roly-polies, or woodlice as they're called in English. So different insects, and I got a phone call from a biologist that's called Leif, an old guy, and he said, like, I can deliver ants for you tomorrow. And ants is there's not that many foragers that want to foraging it because it's a nightmare to sort all of these small ants. But he said, I can come with 2 kilos next week. And I was like, okay, if you can, 2 kilos. I was like, if you can do that, I will buy it from you, of course. And he came with 2 kilos. And then we talked about different insects. And for me, the alchemist spirit animal is the butterfly. The metamorphosis of the transaction of the butterfly is quite fascinating for me. And I asked him, can you eat butterflies? And that was not like
no,
possible.
You're not say that.
No. And he said no, because it lives on wild plants and some of them can be poisoned and so on. So we started. It was a challenge for me. So I asked him to see if it was possible to farm these butterflies.
Donc vous avez compris que on est en train de parler de papillons comestibles, parce que finalement, les fourmis, c'est un peu surfait. C'est vrai, c'est chiant à récupérer, et ça a quand même beaucoup moins de gueule.
So it ended up that Leif have tried a lot of different things with the butterflies and different rarities of the butterflies. There's 165,000 different rarities of butterflies, which is quite a lot, and all of them with different profiles in the cells. So that maybe also means that there's different taste profiles in it. So 4 years it took to take 10 different species of butterflies. 2 of them, which we will put on the menu actually next week. So this is a dish that's not on the menu yet.
C'est donc une première mondiale, le premier plat qui n'est pas actuellement au menu de The Alchemist, qui est proposé pour la première fois sur cette scène, à base de papillons.
So we found a lot of spring vegetables, some green tomatoes, some rhubarbs, a little bit of strawberries.
You're speaking about that, right?
Exactly. Then we freeze it down, so it's a frozen salad of the vegetables, and then some summer flowers here, which is also frozen. And then we put it on. We got these butterflies. So this one is a nettle butterfly, which the nettle butterflies is living on nettles, and then is feeding with the honey water as well. So we freeze it down so the body is still frozen, and you have this kind of nettle flavor into the butterfly. So the butterfly absorb at least these 2 species. We're still undiscovered. There's a lot of things to discover in this new ingredient, but at least these 2 taste of what they're actually living on. So this one for living on nettles, and the other one here, which is a kale butterfly, living on different kind of sea kales and horseradish. So we get like this kind of little bit stronger kale flavor, and then also honey water.
So this is a fake banana, but this is real butterflies.
It's real butterflies. So with the butterflies, we found out that because of the living on honey water as well, that this can be quite sweet. So we make a broth of grass, and then infuse it with butterfly wings. Yes. So. And then, which is a little bit of a job, is to put a needle through the butterfly, so you get the real shape, and then freeze them down. So we have a little bit of grass oil here. And then we have the broad of the butterfly wings.
Vous avez bien entendu, donc, hein, ce
So
bouillon
that's the next
d'ailes
little impression here.
de papillon. I have to translate the taste of a butterfly for the audience. So
do you
which one
try
do you
it
recommend?
with the whole thing?
Do you
Or do you
recommend?
just want to try the butterfly? I think you try it with the whole thing. We make an extra one too.
I take one.
Yeah, we
One
recommend
bite.
that you take one bite with a little bit of the broth. Happy Glasgow.
J'ai envie de dire c'est très aérien.
What are you saying?
It's like a flying dish. You know, I have this acidity of the insect, if I can say that, you know. Souvenons-nous qu'on mange des insectes depuis toujours. Certaines cuisines continuent d'ailleurs de les préparer. Le Mexique est... I said that Mexico is really common to eat insects. You know, here in Mexico City, you can find easily a plate with insects. So it's not a weird thing. Mais il y a absolument une sensation, un goût, et évidemment une drôle de texture quand même, qui est l'aile de papillon, mais qui trouve aisément sa place, je pense, dans ce drôle de menu de The Alchemist. Do you want to say a last word after this weird journey you proposed us to take?
After the weird journey. Yeah, so of course we took some of the, I will say actually some of the more normal servings. Maybe this one is a little bit, but of course it's also an Alchemist. You will get dishes like king crab tail. You will get caviar. You will get also some common things. So we built up the meal. We had a dramaturg hired in the company, which is taking this dramatic structure. So we built up the meal with different kind of climax and point of no returns. And it's also very aware of that when you go from the restaurant, you need to have had a good experience. And I think the way to push innovation, new ingredients, and new techniques is first of all that if it's food, that it needs to be delicious to eat as well. So for us, it really needs to have good flavors. It needs to taste good. And then, of course, it depends on where you're coming from in the world. Some people in Denmark have a hard time eating jellyfish. Then we get a visit from China, and there's no problem. So it also depends on, of course, the adventures you have been on in life and the culture you're coming from and how much you've been out and dine. But it's important for us that we can hit the guests, all of the guests we get in, and some of them has never eaten an oyster before, and some of them is foodies that traveling around the world. And that's important for us to at least, that all of them going out from Alchemist with I would say, a good experience. It's fine for me. We serve around 50 impressions, so it's fine for me that it's not all days nice. I think it's fine if they send out the tongue and say this didn't taste good, or I didn't like the butterfly. That's completely fine. I will say if we have a menu where everything, you enjoy everything, and it's the best you have of the best of the best, then we didn't succeed. Then we didn't push the boundaries enough. So, yeah.
On remercie Rasmus Munk, The Alchemist à Copenhague, de nous avoir apporté un peu de son restaurant holistique à Paris. Thank you very much, Rasmus. Thank you, guys. And see you next time in Copenhagen. Merci à tous. On se retrouve demain pour la dernière journée d'Omnivore. À demain.